Hi, it's Ian here. Welcome to another episode of More Clients TV. We're going through a bit of a mini heatwave here in the UK, so apologies in advance if I melt halfway through the video. So in the previous episode of More Clients TV, we talked about how the number one thing that almost all authorities do is to regularly and consistently share their ideas, their insights and their content, because that's what builds up the credibility and trust over time for people to be ready to buy something significant from them. But what we also said was that you also need those ideas, that content, those insights to get noticed, for people to pay attention to them. It's no good putting out all this great stuff if no one's actually paying attention. So in today's episode, we're going to look at how you get attention, how you get people to notice you. And we're going to look a little bit at the science behind that. So I'll see you in a second. Hi, it's Ian, welcome back. So today we're going to look at how to get noticed, how to get someone's attention so that all that great value, those insights, those ideas actually get through to people and they have an impact. You build credibility and trust. In order to do that, we're going to look at the psychology or the science behind attention. So if you're interested in this, by the way, then a really great book to look at is the book Captivology by a guy called Ben Parr. It's a really good layman's guide to the science behind attention. And one of the models that book introduces is this three-step model of immediate attention, short attention, and long attention. These are the three phases you go through. So immediate attention is where something grabs your attention. So for example, you hear a loud noise, you're immediately drawn, you look out to where it came from, or you see a big headline that's interesting in a newspaper and your eyes are drawn to it. The next stage of attention is short attention, where you begin to investigate a little bit more. So you might read the first paragraph of the article underneath the headline, and then if it's interesting, you'll read the whole thing. And finally, there's long attention. This is where you voluntarily give your attention to something, where you keep coming back to it. So maybe you tune in to your favorite TV show every week, or you always make sure to read the email newsletter of someone who's consistently sent you something useful and valuable over time. Now, long attention is obviously the most valuable form of attention because people are seeking you out. They're deliberately trying to find you, to learn from you, to listen to you. And that's what gets you that repeated attention you need to build credibility and trust over time. But you don't get to long attention unless you start with immediate and then short attention. So in this video, we're going to focus first on immediate attention. So immediate attention is all about being distinctive. It's about standing out and contrasting the things around you. And it really dates back kind of through evolution to prehistoric times, where our ancestors that noticed that orange and black stripy animal with big teeth approaching them was different to the other animals they'd seen before, and they ran away. And our ancestors that didn't notice that, well, they're not our ancestors, the people who didn't notice that got eaten and they didn't have any descendants. So from an evolutionary perspective, we are kind of hardwired to notice things that are different, that stand out. So that means if you want someone to notice you, then the ideas, the information, the content you put out not only has to be different and valuable in and of itself, but from a packaging perspective, the way it's presented has to look different to the other things they're seeing. It's similar to the way in the consumer goods world that things have to stand out on the shop shelf. So if you're in the supermarket, Kellogg's cornflakes stands out and looks different to generic own brand. Coca-Cola looks different to Pepsi and all the own brand colas. The own brands try to look like Coca-Cola, but of course Coca-Cola tries to protect itself and its branding so that it stands out and looks different. And also, of course, that you remember it. Once you've got value from it, you can easily find it again. And you want that same thing going on with your own content. You want it to stand out in the first place and look different, so people pay attention to it. And you want that standing out, that distinctiveness to be consistent, so that when people see it again and they've had value from it, they know it's you and they deliberately pay attention to it. So in terms of being distinctive, how do you do that from a kind of a consulting, a coaching, a professional services perspective? Well, it's all about how you present your content, and it really means looking at the channel you're going to use or that you regularly use and looking at what's visible on there and making sure that your stuff is just different. It just contrasts. So look at the subject lines if you're talking about emails. Look at the thumbnails if you're talking about videos on YouTube. Look at what people are posting and what that looks like on the social media like LinkedIn or Facebook you happen to use, and then think, how can I be different to that? So a really good example of that is Dragos Balashoyu, who is a branding consultant, so it's the kind of thing he should know about. And if you look at his content on LinkedIn, it looks very different because he always has memes as the main image. So he'll take a little clip from a film or a TV show that's kind of funny and people know. So as you scroll through your LinkedIn feed, he's really the only one using memes like that. And you go, oh, that looks different to the other stuff I'm seeing on LinkedIn. And then you start reading his content. Now, of course, his content is very good. It's really high quality. He has different ideas. He has ideas that are valuable and challenging, and you want to read them once you've seen them before. But the thing that gets your attention in the first place is the use of memes. Now, in reality, making a meme and putting it on a LinkedIn post isn't very technically challenging. What it is, though, is it's a little bit brave, because you've got all these thoughts of, will it look professional? Will it look businesslike? Will people think less of me if I use a meme? But in Dragos's case, I assume he thought about that, and then he thought, no, I'm going to be a bit brave with this. I am going to put this out there and see what happens. And you've got to do the same with your own marketing. If you want it to stand out and look different, you're going to have to be a little bit brave, because it's not the same. It's not going to be the same as what everyone else is doing. Because if it was the same, if it was safe, then it wouldn't be different. It wouldn't stand out. So it takes a little bit of bravery to stand out. Not a massive amount of bravery. You're not exactly running into a burning building and saving someone's life. But it takes a little bit of a bravery to not feel as if you might be embarrassed or look unprofessional or whatever, or to just not care about that, to try it just once, give it a go, and you'll find you're most likely to be very pleasantly surprised by the results. And then do it again and again and again, and keep that consistency so people recognize that this different imagery or whatever it is you're using is coming from you, and they know to tune in and pay attention to it. So that's it for this week. I'll see you next time, where we'll go into short attention, how you get people who you've grabbed the attention of to get a bit deeper into what you're saying. I'll see you then.